Welcome to Today on this Thursday morning, everyone. I'm Katie Couric.
And I'm Lester Holt. Matt is off today. Washington says it doesn't like what's in this report. But
so far, the teams have found no evidence Iraq has resumed production of banned weapons. But the inspectors say their work could take up to a year.
Dog's owner calls everyone involved in the rescue heroes.
Now, Today in L.A. at 7:26.
You are looking live at the view from our San Fernando Valley cam. Good morning, I'm Jennifer Bjorklund. Here's what's happening.
In Florida, the gentle air-breathing mammals are being accidentally killed at a record rate.
Glaring omissions. What President Bush is expected to make its most definitive statements tomorrow about Iraq's weapons disclosures. But today,
for failing to enforce ratings on games and for failing to educate parents about violent games.
Battered by monstrous waves. Now, with a second major storm taking aim at the West Coast, many here are worried.
Secretary of State Colin Powell delivers the first formal response by the U.S. today, and it will be harshly critical of Iraq.
And I decided that besides buying the paper, I'd buy two $10 lottery tickets.
Said what the hey? Do you usually buy lottery tickets? Anyway, we're also going to hear from two superstars behind the silver screen.
40s in the Pacific Northwest, 30s in the Plains. Phillips Exeter Academy, varsity hockey. Yeah, that's what's going on around the country. Here's what's happening in your neck of the woods.
All right, thanks, Al.
Ambassador Holbrook, welcome back. Nice to see you.
If you're tired of getting those calls during dinner, trying to sell you everything from long-distance service to a fabulous vacation, help is on the way.
And I just believe what he told me.
Tell me about Leonardo DiCaprio. You talked about him as being very demanding.
And in North Carolina, a man is a dog's best friend.
Caltrans CityCam, Hollywood Freeway. This is southbound. Coming past Lankershim Boulevard, right at the curb, we have a SIG alert. Injury accident, overturned vehicle, and that has shut down the 3 left-hand lanes.
Colds? They're tough to avoid, but now I get rid of them 3 times faster.
Get ZICAM nasal pump or new disposable swab.
Yeah, but I'd use this.
Could this mean the United States is closer to war? We're going to get the insights of former U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, Richard Holbrook.
Elmo has a shoe fetish? Wow. Who knew?
I scratched the bottom underneath the number 8 right after that, and literally stood there and looked at it for about 10 or 12 seconds and couldn't quite comprehend what I was looking at. So
what did it say?
It actually had a $sign, the number 4, and the capital letters MIL.
Violent video games, they may be #1 on your child's Christmas list, but wait till you see what they do to children's heart rates.
That's your latest weather. Now let's go back inside the key.
Okay, thank you very much, Al. Now to that Christmas miracle we've been telling you about. How's that taste? I should have used odor eaters, I guess.
It's disgusting.
Authorities in Pakistan say they have arrested 9 suspected al-Qaeda operatives. Pakistani police made the arrest in the eastern city of Lahore.
To detail what U.S. officials call, quote, glaring omissions by Saddam's regime.
Basically talking hurricane-force conditions. That's what's going on around the country. Here's what's happening in your neck of the woods.
We are not encouraged that they have gotten the message or will cooperate based on what we have seen so far in the declaration.
The object here will be to keep it to a U.S.-Iraqi conflict rather than let it metastasize into an Arab-Israeli conflict.
White diamonds, the intriguing fragrance from Elizabeth Taylor. This elegant holiday gift set, a $97 value, yours for just $50.
And the U.S. says Iraq fell far short of full disclosure.
A trigger for war.
They tend to have lower GPAs. They tend to see the world as a more hostile and aggressive place.
That's what Lynch found in his study of 600 middle school kids.
With Crest White Strips, the strip stays for 30 minutes, so it whitens 5 times better.
Manatees vying for space in a piece of the crowded American dream.
Paul Johnson, traffic.
All right, Caltrans CityCam, southbound 605 at Slauson. Traffic very heavy and slow on the southbound 605.
Now we're talking.
Then that wild weather. The already battered and flooded California coast is bracing for even more today, while Arkansas was hit with a deadly twister last night.
Well, the arousal state that he's in right now kind of primes him for learning. And during this learning state, he's basically learning that violence is a good way to solve problems.
The Save the Manatee Club has sued the federal government.
Warning! The Shoe Pavilion year-end clearance is on now. Beware of side effects, including extreme giddiness and hysteria.
I was reading you said you love stories about sensational rogues.
Mm-hmm.
And Frank Abagnale, Jr. has to be a gift from heaven then.
Oh, yeah, he was.
And still to come this morning on Today, we're going to find out if virtual violence from video games could be doing your kids some actual physical harm.
This thing you obsess about and face ridicule for. This thing you're not sure that you'll ever be able to quit may have just met its match.
Tornadoes last 2 days, Missouri 6, Arkansas 5, Louisiana had 2, Kansas 1, and now we've got a strong line of thunderstorms.
But his heart tells a different story.
Joey's heart rate's approaching in the 140s. His blood pressure is 186 over 121.
Today, the U.S. and UN weapons inspectors are expected to take a tough stand on Iraq about its weapons declarations.
This as the United States moved one step closer to conflict, declaring Iraq in violation of a UN disarmament resolution. Also coming up in our next half hour this morning, we're going to go to Los Angeles for the Golden Globe nominations. Oh, and look. Oh, hi, Elmo.
Hi, Miss Katie. Oh, hi, Mr. Lester.
Good morning. Nice to see you.
Long time no see.
And later, the latest fashions you can afford.
For the whole thing, under $150.
Get out of here.
We'll meet a Massachusetts couple knee-deep in medical bills who won a $4 million Christmas miracle this past weekend.
You know, heartburn is bad enough. But then, just when you think it's gone, you get it again. That's why I use Pepcid.
Got some nice folks here. Everybody happy? From Michigan, huh? All right. Let's check your weather. See what's... All righty.
At the end of the day, you want your work to define you as a person. I've always just tried to focus on doing great characters and being a part of great films and being the best possible actor.
Sit down and play it. Rent games before you buy them.
Because Lynch says what may look like child's play
Sit and chill.
could be a very dangerous game.
Yes, doctor.
I have your colon polyp test results. Dan? Dan, you're fine.
Help stay that way with new Caltrate Colon Health.
Meantime, the Pentagon has given preliminary approval to sending up to 50,000 additional troops to the Persian Gulf.
3 things going on here, Katie. One is the military track. And when Secretary Rumsfeld and the military come in to see President Bush and say, ready for action, sir, then the president will be able to move. He has the congressional resolution. He has Security Council Resolution 1441.
Their heart races, their blood pressure shoots up, but what else happens to your kids when they play violent video games? We'll take a look at one researcher's fascinating and frankly disturbing study.
Critics rave it's the best romantic comedy since Pretty Woman.
He thinks I'm a guest.
Charming, clever, and hilarious.
Question. The rest of it is diplomatic mumbo-jumbo.
It is the deadliest waterway on the west coast of Florida.
Portrayed by Tom Hanks.
Step out of the bathroom!
Today, the administration will once again put the United Nations on the spot by arguing that Iraq's weapons declaration is new proof that Saddam is defying the world.
Good morning.
There was a lot of demand for this. You received something like 60,000 comments in favor of a do-not-call registry. Explain to me what that is, how it'll work.
If Saddam Hussein feels he's close to being deposed, he'll practice a scorched earth policy.
Getting early acceptance to Harvard was a great thrill for me and my family, especially because education has been so important to me.
An elderly woman died when she was blown out of her house into a field 800 yards away.
We thought the Beach Boys would be very appropriate on this Thursday morning. That's right.
The games are very entertaining, and sometimes they can really suck you in.
Finally, wrapping paper has a place all its own. Get the Wrap and Craft from Rubbermaid. Now available in jumbo size.
So the most outrageous stuff is true?
Oh, yeah. The way he got past 100 FBI agents at Miami International Airport is...
Things didn't look too good for a Chihuahua named Sandy until a firefighter gave the dog mouth-to-snout resuscitation.
Landowners argue a loss of property rights.
But first, this is Today on NBC.
Parents kind of assume that violent video games are probably not that great for their kids, but they don't have the data.
Paul Lynch believes he does.
This is a different sandwich, and it's my dad's favorite.
Oh, really? I was sort of watching very, very carefully to see if the shot of modern-day New York would include the Twin Towers.
Well, they can be subject to civil penalties of up to $11,000 per violation, so we think that they'll take this very seriously.
Back at 8 o'clock on this Thursday morning. It is December 19th. The year is 2002, and as usual, we've got a great holiday crowd outside our window on the world this morning.
I think the key moment in this process was September 12th, the day after 9/11.
And on a couple of occasions, he actually kicked my television.
Lynch later studied his high school classmates, even taking urine samples to monitor stress hormones.
And we're back.
Its annual report card on the video game industry. And the National Institute on Media and the Family says the video game industry gets an overall grade of F.
You obviously did other movies, then came your huge hit with Titanic.
But fortunately, no homes were flooded.
Dave Matthews Band, Busted Stuff. Spin Magazine calls it their best album yet. Where are you going? And Maxim calls it simply a revelation.
Smile a little bit more, you guys. Come on.
The president will work to convince U.S. allies that military action is warranted.
Later on today, Olympic gold medalist Sarah Hughes.
The suspect finally crashed his car. An investigation is still underway at this hour. 2 officers were injured.
But sources say the president, who conferred with top foreign policy advisors at the White House Wednesday, is not yet prepared to declare the Iraqi report a material breach of the UN resolution.
People here on the West Coast have barely had a chance to catch their breath after that first big storm, and now they're getting ready for round 2.
Let's party. He doesn't come out of the gate being Tom Hanks, Forrest Gump, Castaway, of Philadelphia.
During the Civil War era, but it's not without controversy. The rumors range from Leonardo DiCaprio partying to Scorsese clashing with studio heads. At what point did you freak out, Richard?
Well, I actually didn't, but the clerk, after about 5 seconds, clicked into that it was a $4 million winner, and she started jumping up and down and screeching.
But the more immediate concern of parents, behavior. A number of studies show a correlation between violent video games and teenage behavior.
So you all have been struggling to pay the bills. I know you have a very nice pharmacist who has allowed you to have a pretty major bill that you owe, and you ran around paying people back.
And increasingly, there's also talk of peace, as Iraq allows activists from around the world to converge here.
It's been 3 days.
One big worry, mudslides in areas where the soil is already saturated.
Anyway, yeah. All right.
Enjoy Smucker's sugar-free preserves. All the taste with no sugar.
We will go after those violators. We plan to be very aggressive in our enforcement.
But can virtual violence really do harm? Here's NBC's Patricia Sapka.
But I think one should take articles in the newspapers on exact technical details with a grain of salt.
The U.S. government may find itself in hot water today when a federal judge considers whether or not to hold Secretary of the Interior Gail Norton in contempt of court for failing to adequately protect an endangered species.
What's happening in your neck of the woods?
It is a cold start to morning, strong winds, and still a high surf advisory in effect. Temperatures right now